we had a real molding shop, we'd have these nylon wedges that you'd tap in there. Now because I haven't done molding in many years, I don't have one, but this is probably going to work just as well. And again, it's not the end of the world if we can't get the glass off, or if it breaks. It's not going to ruin my whole day. But the trick is to just go gently, and let's see if this works. And if you rush it, you're probably not in your favor. Now, I wanted to show what happens is you can actually see it releasing here. Let me show this without a camera cut. Oop, as he hits the video. See, this is the release, what's happening here. Now, as I pull up on this, you can watch it. Whoop! You watch it walk around. Not sure that's showing the way I would like, but anyway, that's the whole thing, is to be gentle. If you just grab that and try to pull it up, it's not going to happen. You'll probably break the glass. Now, in a perfect world, if we were doing this over and over and over again, I'd take a piece of plywood and epoxy it to this side so that this would be like a solid mold. Now, I didn't want to do that. We're only making one sheet of this for now. Now, this is like the poor man's way of making a sheet of carbon fiber. And the most common problem everybody ever has when you start molding things is you don't get the mold release, the wax and the PVA right, and when you go to pull a part out, you find out it's stuck and you either break the mold or destroy it, or the part breaks. Well, we've done a lot of that, of course. Now I'm going to just try. Again, I'm not worried about the piece of glass. It's not the end of the world if we break it. But sometimes you'd have a mold, of course, in a molding shop, and you'd have a mold, up as he breaks the glass. You'd have a mold that took hundreds of hours to make, and so you don't want to destroy that, of course. Now here we got, this looks like I don't think I even need the hammer here. Here we go. Come on, babe. Ah, he breaks the glass. You don't think I'm going to edit that out, do you? Well, anyway, it's not the end of the world, that's for sure. Okay, so now the trick is, and I'm not really concerned about it, because it's all going to get sanded down anyway, and it will not influence the part even a little bit. In fact, it's good that this broke, because most people, if you're doing this, you're not a professional molder. You wouldn't be watching this video. Anyway, we do have a sheet of carbon fiber here, and that's really pretty cool. Don't know if we're going to be able to get the bottom piece off without breaking it, but again, we don't have the real tools that we should have. And if you watch this is the released area, and if you're patient, sometimes this works out really well. The times it doesn't, you're out a piece of glass. And let's be realistic, the glass is not that expensive relative to buying a piece of this material. I don't know how many $100s that piece of material would be. It's not going to be cheap, trust me. Now, a lot of times in a mold shop, just so this is interesting information, what you would have is you'd have a way of getting compressed air in here, and obviously we don't have that. And I'm really trying not to break the glass, but I don't know about this. See that walking away? And you got it's really something you just have to be patient about. And if we break it, well, shame on us. Good thing glass is cheap. Now this glass actually is free, because we used to buy all these picture frames so Karen could use the frames on her artwork. Watch it go. See it go? I'm hoping I can demonstrate this in such a way that and if I get this off without breaking it, well, we're going to leave the one on where we broke it anyway. And that's the idea of YouTube videos, is to leave the mistakes on. Don't make it look like you're somebody that you're not. And we are the person that we're trying to pass on information. And if we're lucky about doing it, this might be our lucky day. Thing is not to rush it. Oh man, look at this. It went to within 1/8 of an inch at the end, and it's going to break. Oh, I don't believe it. Look at that last little piece. Oh, there's a big blob of resin there. That's what happened. Okay, shame on that. But anyway, I think you get the picture. This is probably going to break now. Ah! I lied. It's going to break. Okay. I'm not going to give it any thought. So you did get to see this in real time. Now, if you notice, this piece, the bottom piece, is pretty flawless. Now we're going to sand it and put a finish on, but trust me, this is going to be a perfect piece when I get done with this. And it's got the perfect, I got the weave at exactly a 45-degree angle. That's going to be able to make some really nice looking parts. License plate, the things we want for the nose section. Once I get done with the pattern making, actually maybe do this in the next short amount of time. And I'll just get this little piece of glass off. See, what happens is if this were thicker glass, it would be better too. See? But the idea of passing information on, sometime this is the best information of all. And that's why I always use stuff that's, if it's thicker glass, less chance it's going to break. Now, truth in advertising, I could have gotten Dave Midgley to send me, I just was impatient about this, a piece of solid Teflon or a sheet of Teflon to put in between. But it's good enough. I have an endless supply of this glass, so I'm not even worried about it. So I wanted to show the kind of finish you get. Now this is right out of the piece of glass anyway. And we're not looking for this finish because I'm going to refinish this. But if you wanted to, or if we made this with high temperature resin, you could buff this out. This would be buffable. Now the other side, where usually the top you get air pockets, but this will now be the back. You won't see that. This will be the part you see. And we need to go out to the garage and make some patterns up for what we want to do with this. I can trim the overage on this once I get the saw out, but the next step on this is to make some patterns. So to start off, just to back up a little, this is the thing most people don't like about this that I've heard almost universally. Nobody likes to see these bolts. So I have a way I think I can disguise or hide these bolts, maybe, not for sure. But the first thing I want to do is get an idea from a design point of view what I want that shape to look like. Now, if it gets too big and cumbersome, or if I've had the windshields, my R1 windshield and things on here, it doesn't look good at all. I don't like the way it looks anyway. So the big thing I want to disguise is actually it's this area here. Now see, if Yamaha had brought this piece up another inch and around, you wouldn't see that. It'd look a lot less offensive. And if they just made this cover that somehow it went on through the back and you didn't have to see the bolts, to me it would look 100 times better. Now, it's just a design point of view, but I have designed a lot of stuff in my life, airplanes and motorcycles, and I've designed it from the point of view of what I like. So what you like might be totally different, but the idea is I don't want to put a fairing on a bike. Now, a bike with a fairing, a sport bike, a total sport bike that's for high speed over 100 miles an hour. But the downside of this is, first off, they're heavy, and then it gets to be difficult to work on a bike. When you have a naked bike, it's a lot easier to work on. Change the headlight bulb, and it's done. But there's a whole, and by the way, try to change the headlight bulb on that. Good luck. So here's the whole thing. I want to make this as small as possible. I'm going to start making paper patterns, and I'll devote a good part of the day to this because I do have a couple hours here to spend before we go get my grandson. And if I can, at the end of the day, at least have the pattern, I'll be really happy. And then I can think about it overnight before I actually cut up that carbon fiber that we made. So number one, I took a piece of office paper just to see, and I made a rough pattern of what that part should look like, or I thought would look like. And I thought by incorporating in this angle, it kind of keeps with the flow of the bike. I could use the two bolts, or I have another idea that may or may not work. And we're going to find out about that very soon. But I looked at that, I made the companion piece for the other side, and they'll be symmetrical. And I had Karen come out and look at it, and I said, it's better. You look at this side and look at this side. Well, you don't see all this. I don't know why Yamaha didn't make a little plastic piece. It doesn't even have to be this big, but hey, I don't work for Yamaha and they don't work for me, so I'm not going to make a big deal out of this, because once I make this pattern, anybody else with an MT-09, I can share the pattern with them, or if it's winter time, I'll make them parts. Maybe we can go in business and sell them to people. Not sure about that. Anyway, I do have what I think is going to be a good idea. When I have the Jivvy bag, I have those really powerful magnets, and I was thinking of putting the magnets on the back of this, grind the bolts down almost flat, and have these parts held on by a magnet so you wouldn't see the bolts. Not sure if that's going to work, but like, if it doesn't work, we're going to show that on a video too, because that's the purpose of making the videos. So the second part, I didn't even bother putting the holes in, because I was thinking, okay, maybe those magnets will work. These are steel bolts, obviously. And I thought, now, if I don't have to look at the bolts, I could have that piece up there. And then I can compare it by looking at this side. But this side I like a lot better than that, because this is going to be nice carbon fiber with several coats of clear urethane on them, so it's going to really look nice. So this is the way, and the reason I'm showing this is the way, especially if you're building a model airplane, or you're trying to design a rudder shape, or you're trying to coordinate things that have to be stylized. I want to pick up this line, I want to pick up this line. The rest of this I can be pretty free and easy about. So this now becomes my number 2 pattern. And I wanted to explain how this stuff evolves. It evolves over a period of X amount of time. So for the third pattern here, I tried, and I made this a little longer, stretched it out a little more, brought that edge in, but trying to maintain the front and this line here. I'm not sure. And I like that idea if I can get those magnets to work. I think it'll be cool. You'll be up somewhere at a thing, just say, hey, you want to see if that part looks good on your bike? I'm not sure we're going to do that. I'm not sure it's going to work, but I have about 10 extra magnets holding that bag in, that once I get the Jivvy bag that's Vlad has already ordered, I'll be able to use those magnets. Anyway, this is the number 2 pattern, number 3. And I'm going to just keep working on this until I'm happy with it and save all the patterns. Because here's what I can do. As long as they're on with magnets, I can make some this size, make some bigger, make some small, make some, and just, I have 10 of those magnets, and I can change it every time I ride the bike. I could actually take some of these and paint them blue and have a blue set and a carbon set, and see, a lot of stuff. When you can make your own parts, the door opens right up to a lot of possibilities. Next pattern I made here is, it's got the little indentation in it, and I was thinking, I like the way that picks up the indentation. I was gonna leave it a lot closer to the front here, kind of pick up this curve. See how I like that. Now, it was like designing that part for the Ninja that goes over the shock spring. This stuff doesn't take 2 minutes. You don't just get a scissor and go, oh, it's perfect. It's a lot of back and forth. Now, I think that's a little bit better, but I'm not sure. So this is number 5, and number 5, I see, here's what I thought. The part was starting to get too big, and I don't want to have a big fairing. I want this to be smaller. So in this pattern, I tried to see if I could make it a little smaller with more of a picture frame around there. Not sure. Not sure. Again, all of this stuff is in the eye of the beholder, but I'm not sure I should be making this a lot smaller. The smaller this is, the more it's going to look like a naked bike, not a... And I'm really only trying to obscure this area right here. Yamaha could have made that part and even made it an accessory part and charge you for it. But they made a cover for the little instrument thing, but why didn't they just make that go down over here? I'm not sure. I don't work for Yamaha. Now, as I'm looking at this part, this is too small. Then I don't like it going out over here. So I'm going to make another pattern that picks up this curve here and just covers this. This is the only area I want to cover. So you want to be careful not to turn this into a sport bike. I don't want it to look like a sport bike, and I don't want it to have that look of everything is molded in with Play-Doh. I want it to have that raw, nasty, everything's out in the open look. So after using up a bunch of cardboard, making a lot of patterns, I made one that I thought I liked, and I got them backwards. I wanted to make sure when I put 2 of them on, and that's probably going to be as close as I can do it. Now, I'm not going to know until I actually make the parts out of carbon fiber, but now I have 2 patterns that I think will be good, and I do have enough time. I think I can go down and get these. I'm not going to drill the holes because I really want to try using magnets, but what I will be able to do, hopefully, is get these cut out, come out here with some tape and just tape them into position and see if I'm happy, because then once I'm happy, I can put the final finish on and then see if the magnets work. If the magnets don't work, I got to drill the holes. But I did wind up with patterns that I think are going to be a good starting point. So what I really wanted to show is the evolution, and this is how number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and by that point in time I had already resigned myself that it had to be a lot smaller, and then what I think will be the final parts. But here, this is the whole thing in a nutshell. Here's what's really good about this. These parts are small enough, if I don't like the way they come out, I can make probably 10 of them out of that sheet of carbon that I have. As opposed to the bigger ones, as this evolved, the bigger ones, I might have had to make another sheet of carbon. I know I'll get the good side of the carbon to be the good side of this. Now remember, you don't want to do this. Anybody that's a modeler knows you don't make two left or two right. You want to make a pair. And the next thing is to go downstairs and get these marked off on that carbon fiber. And the defining feature of this whole bike that nobody seems to like is that Yamaha left out that part. But we might be able to solve this, and maybe Yamaha will hire me. They give me a free t-shirt or something. So while I'm out there making carbon fiber parts, these are the tomatoes from our garden, who, watch you don't cut your finger off on video here. Make a real YouTube video. Look at these tomatoes. We got killer tomatoes this year. Now these are the stripy ones?
Mr. Stripey.
Mr. Stripey, wow.
Mr.
See, and she's going to make tomato sauce today, so.
Roasted tomatoes.
Roasted tomatoes. Holy mackerel. Can you come and make some carbon fiber parts for me so I can take a nap?
Sorry, baby.
Not happening. So the first step is using our little Dremel saw. Trim off the overage on that one edge. Doesn't have to be close. The whole sheet is usable, but I don't want to have the pieces out here and throw this away. I want to get them as close as I can. And the opposite side is fine. Even if we had defects in the other side, those air pockets, it won't matter. It's just going to be to my advantage to make these up as close to the edge as possible. Always want to vacuum up all the dust anytime you're working with this stuff. Now before I go any further, I want to get all of the residual mold release off of here. Just ordinary soap is fine. I don't want to have any of that. And you can see we have that's a pretty nice finish, actually. Pretty good. This side we don't care about again. But I do want everything clean, because if we do wind up using the magnets, what's going to happen is we're going to have to glue them to this, and we have to, of course, do it in a way that they don't come off. So now we've got a piece of carbon fiber that we've made ready to go to work. That all came from our garden? Holy mackerel. Wow, we should get the farm discount. Now you use parchment paper so it doesn't stick. By the way, that helps me that I don't have to clean these pans at the end of it. Oh my God, look at this.
Look at the size of these tomatoes.
I'm downstairs grinding carbon and she's grinding tomatoes. No wonder we have such a good life. Wow, if I was doing tomatoes and you were doing carbon, we wouldn't have that good of a life.
We would be in trouble.
We'd be on welfare. Shallots, garlic, and homegrown tomatoes of all varieties.
And basil and oregano.
Is it basil from our garden?
And oregano from the garden.
And carbon fiber from our garden?
No carbon fiber.
No carbon fiber.
But the herbs are going to go in 20 minutes.
All right.
Want to help me get it in the oven?
Okay, how long does that cook for now?
It cooks for half hour, but after 20
At 400 degrees?
Yes. But after 20 minutes, I put the herbs in there.
Now the next part of this, as the tomatoes are being cooked here, making me hungry, if you look at carbon fiber, there's always a grain orientation. So I don't know yet if I want the grain to go across the carbon or if I want it to make it look like the grain goes down this piece. I think going along the edge, it would just make this part look longer than it really is. So I'm going to lay these out in such a way that I pick up, and I don't want them to be opposite. I want it to look like, if you look from the front of the motorcycle, we used one piece of carbon for the whole job. So laying that out is going to be critical. So if you look at how the grain is oriented, I ran a stripe down into the mask area where the blue tape is, and now I can just trace those out. In fact, it's easier if I put dots in each corner and then just use a ruler, since they're pretty much all straight. Now, I guess I can't. There's a little bit of a curve to that. Now, I'm not going to drill any holes because I'm still going to hold out hope that those magnets are going to work. I guess we're going to find out. Yeah, now what I'm doing is just using up some striping tape, some old striping tape to outline this. It just makes it easier to see it while it's in the jigsaw. And there's a little trick that's worth its weight in gold, is when you make any part from a pattern, you make the line out of a pen and leave the pen, in modeling it's called leave the pen line on, so that the part always is just a little bit bigger than it needs to be. And then you can take it over to the belt sander and dress it off, or in the worst of all worlds, dress it off by hand. Ha, look, I just ran out of tape. Wow, and this, by the way, is a good way to use up old striping tape. Never use it up on a paint job. And the whole idea of this is to make it look like all of these when they're done, that this all came from one piece of carbon. And of course, we're going to cut on the inner line and try to leave the line on if possible, so it's just a pen line bigger than it really is. And these aren't exactly straight lines. They have a little bit of curve to it. Actually, when I look at this, this kind of matches that MT09 logo that they have. That I'm not sure what it is. Maybe that's just an accident. Who knows? And the whole idea of trimming this out is rough cutting it, because I want to cut along that inner edge. And anybody who's ever used a jigsaw knows how sloppy it can get, because in this, you're really burning through, not cutting, with these Dremel blades. And a lot of times the carbon, it'll just eat the blade up very quickly. So I'm going to try to show on a macro lens that I left the ink line and just a little bit extra on, because the final fit, I want to do that with the belt sander, and then the final by hand. And that's how you do it. Almost everybody I know that's an excellent modeler, that's how they do things. Now the next thing is just to dress them off at the belt sander, just to get them right up to the line. Do that just the slightest little bit. And then make sure they're mirror images and symmetrical. So the next step on this is going to be to just go out into the garage, take some tape and tape these into position and see if we like the way they look before I put the final finish on them. And of course the magnets I won't be able to do till I get the jivvy bag. So what I'm going to try to do is hold out hope that I'm just going to put a little loop of Gorilla Tape here, hold the piece in place. I hope it does. And get an idea what this is going to look like. So the preliminary thing, it definitely looks better than it did. I don't know. We're going to have to think about it over and over again, look at it from a lot of angles. But the point is, if we have the magnets, we can raise and lower this by grinding the head of the bolt or recessing the magnet in. That'll be one thing. And I just wanted to marry this up like a fit and finish thing into this groove. And I'll do that by hand with a sanding block. Get that all fit in before we actually put the finish on the part. But I think we're ready put the finish on the part, but that'll be for the next session we have to work. And since all this stuff is in the eye of the beholder anyway, the good thing about this is, like any modification, like an evil twin modification, if you can undo it and just go make other parts or different parts, whatever, it's always to your advantage. And Karen made a good point when she checked this out. She said you ought to make a set that's blue, because that would pick up the blue in the tank. The only problem is color right, I should say, does not have the formula for the 2020 bikes yet, but it's probably pretty close to the stuff we already have. But so that'll be another rainy day project. Make a blue set, whatever. We got plenty of material. But I want to show how I do the fit and finish on this. So by doing this, now I can pick up exactly this edge right here, and I'll go down to the grindstone and do it down at the belt sander, and pick up this edge so that that'll look like a tooth that fit right in there. And this one I've already got trimmed off. You can see how much material has to come off, and that's why I always leave the ink line on. I don't take the ink line off. And I think Karen was right. I think these things will look pretty cool in blue, but I still have to get some of that paint. And that's that. If you try to have Stevie Wonder mix it, never works out. You got to get the stuff from Color Right. Okay, so that's how much those parts have to be adjusted to pick up the fit and finish that I want. One final thing I have to decide, which do I like better, seeing the bolts or a piece of carbon fiber? Again, that'll be, now the nice thing is, if this works out, the magnets, you don't like it, just take it off. Or to get that blue paint in stock, just paint it blue. I can't complain about the smell in the house now. Oh, that's just delicious. This is a great way to end the day. Wonderful, Karen. So what's in here? Cayenne pepper? Something smells delicious. Oh my gosh.
It's everything that was on the tray, plus cayenne pepper.
Right from the garden. So what is this going to be? Roasted tomato soup?
Roasted tomato soup with coconut milk in it.
Ooh,
it's
sounds good.
Kind of an Indian.
Sounds Indian, yeah. I'll go finish my carbon fiber stuff. I'm getting hungry already. Anyway, that completes this step of it. We're pretty much done here for today. I've got to go get Miles, and we're gonna be working. Well, I think tomorrow's going to be a riding day. I don't know. I got to get my marching orders from Karen yet, but there's always something to do when you have a small bike collection. There's always a part to make, or something to do, or something that's breaking, something that's leaking, something that needs to be changed. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you to all the healthcare workers. Thank you guys, one and all. I really appreciate it. And hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching. Now the next part of this, as the tomatoes are being cooked here, making me hungry.